Okay. Mm, mm. Okay. G'day, g'day. All right. Just fixing some techie things, but hopefully you guys are all here. Essentially, I wanted to talk about 1984, which is a text I really, really love. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on a different browser because I want to try and share the audio with you. So hopefully this all works. But please have yeah, I'll be explaining it anyway. So even if you don't hear what the thing is talking about, I'll be able to explain what's going on through the process. So, one moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and share the audio on the videos that I'm watching, and I'll basically be telling you, what it's talking about, and I'll update you about it all. Because look, 1984 is quite a good text, and most of us have to, it's like study this at school, right? So it's useful to be able to discuss it and understand how to explain it well. There we go. Let's have a look, see if I can share this window, this one, and I'm going to also share system audio. Let's see if this works. Okay, I get it. All right, and I'll put this one on stage, and let's see if it plays. Okay.
In the 1940s, George Orwell published a novel that illustrated a dystopian future. Well, future at the time. In the year 1984, the world has taken an unrecognizable shape, all remnants of what used to be, now destroyed, as the 20th century took a horrendous turn. Orwell imagined a world where totalitarianism reigned, individualism was dead, and reality and history was simply a matter of opinion. Of course, this never happened, as it was just fiction. But the novel 1984 has resurged in popular culture because many have made connections between this dark society and our own. Orwell never saw the rise of the internet or the policies of the 21st century, but his novel has been treated by some as almost a foreshadowing. Constant surveillance of every citizen by INSAC, constant surveillance by every government against its own citizens, those sort of connections. And this has only gotten more popular as more compare this dystopian society and our own. This video isn't meant to compare our society and Orwell's. This video is simply a summary of the politics, history, and world in the scenario Orwell crafted. Unsurprisingly, this is going to have some spoilers as this video fully fleshes out the world and society of 1984. Let's start off with...
So far, so good. That is one of the key details is 1984 is taken as, okay, this was in the past, but do we have something kind of real that's going on today? Like he was writing about the concerns of his day. They had, obviously, they had authoritarian leaders, and there were these, the concern that, people being watched at all times. Of course, Orwell's criticism was of, a lot. I won't go into too much right now, more when they're contextually relevant. But to give you an idea about, he's obviously British. He's lived all over Europe. He's lived in Southeast Asia, and he has fought in a civil war all prior to World War II. Therefore, he had a unique perspective on what was going on during that time period and what he believed could happen after. So, if he's living and writing at a time that, the bombs had just gone off, potentially he would say something about that. So let's keep having a listen. This is pretty good.
With some history. How does the world become this? In Orwell's novel, the 20th century is one long tragedy. The potential of humanity and this great path of civilization is entirely squandered in just a few decades. Since the novel was published in 1949, It's not surprising this is where the future begins to go downhill. It all started after World War II and the dawn of the Cold War. The precursor division of the world already has begun to be seen. For us, in the 21st century, we know how it ends. Soviet Union falls, nuclear war never happens, etc., etc. But in Orwell's timeline, there is no decades-long tension of the Cold War between America and Russia. Instead, sometime in the early 1950s, World War III breaks out. Nuclear bombs were used on major cities around the world, including Colchester, but not London. All we know is Britain was nuked multiple times. This was probably around 1954. During the bombings, the Soviet Union invaded all of mainland Europe as its army swept even into the Iberian Peninsula. The British Isles became the last bastion on the continent.
So, as you can see, the story follows an alternate history. Now, he's writing at a time just after World War II, and he's basically saying, hey, in this future, there has been a nuclear war. This was the concern of the day. They were worried about nuclear war at the time. And he's saying, okay, so, the Soviets have invaded, and England's like they're still holding out, but obviously the nukes have gone crazy and nuked everything. So it's a post-apocalyptic world. All those films that you think of that are post-apocalyptic, this was the first. His was kind of it set the tone for that. And like you would have been concerned about it at that time, so it makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's keep watching because this is pretty interesting.
In the aftermath of the war, the West unified as the United States and the British Commonwealth united into a single country. The United States, Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and Britain formed to create Oceania. Oceania then went on.
Sorry. I just wanted to pause on that one because look at the way that the world is shaped in Orwell's world. So, for example, we've got East Asia, which is the section over here. Then you got Eurasia, which is Russia, etc. And then see how there's a little bastion of England. Okay, they're up there. And then America. And then over in Australia as well. Oh, they got it as well. So as you can see, it's kind of like a world today, but almost like different powers in control of it. So it's quite interesting how it plays out. I hope you guys can hear this because I have no idea if anyone can hear anything when I'm playing it, but I really do hope because it's quite an interesting video.
To annex Latin America. After this, history gets a little bit fuzzy. What we do know is that because of the traumatic events of the war, unrest occurred in Oceania and the Soviet Union. Sometime after 1954, Oceania fell into civil war between capitalism and a new homegrown ideology. This war, by 1984, is referred to as the Revolution. This new ideology won, and under this victory formed itself into a single party, INSAC. We'll talk about this in a sec, but first, let's discuss the rest of the world. Sometime in the 1950s and 60s, simultaneous revolutions occurred in the USSR and China. Neo-Bolshevikism united Europe and Russia into Eurasia, while China, after fighting amongst itself for a decade, finally formed into East Asia under the nicely named ideology called obliteration of the self. This history that you just learned is something that no citizen in Oceania would know about, which is a good way to introduce you to this dystopian world. By 1984, the world is divided between these three nations, Oceania, Eurasia, and East Asia, all in a state of perpetual war.
So I wouldn't necessitate them as nations. I would say, it's their blocks, empires, if you will. Kind of like how we have different groups today functioning. But yeah, anyway, as you can see, this is why people say, okay, 1994 is relevant to today. Oh, it's a fun book.
Or over an area called the Equatorial Front. North Africa, through the Middle East, India, and Southeast Asia, is constantly fought and interchanged between the three superpowers. We'll get back to that later. Even though the history of the early 20th century by 1984 would only be decades ago, they might as well have been thousands. The nations, history, people before INSAC are simply myths. And what exists is a society that is totalitarianism to its extreme. First, welcome to Britain. Except if you're a citizen, you've never known it as Britain. You know it as Airstrip 1. For many, Britain is a distant memory. The party's grip on the mind is so powerful, what once was an unquestionable fact, like a name, is similar to a faint dream. You question if it even happened, if it was ever real at all. Then you forget about it. This is the most prominent attribute of Oceania, the control of information to such an extent that facts are not reality, and reality can be changed simply on the whim of Big Brother and the party, INSAC. INSAC controls all. INSAC sees all. To say it changed society is an understatement. INSAC destroyed society and remade it into something where only it can thrive. Western civilization is basically dead. Now is only a civilization that exists purely for the party to rule without question. How exactly it did this, we don't know. Now, when I say party, INSAC isn't a party like the Democrats, Republicans, or even Nazis. It's more like a society within a society. It has its own separate culture and rules from the majority of the population. Oceania is split between three main classes. The inner party, basically the secretive heads of the state, is only 2% of the population, followed by the outer party, the bureaucratic but still devoted educated people, which is 13%. And then everyone else, the proles, the uneducated.
So, prose is a reference to this term. It's a French word. Hope I can spell it correctly. Okay. Define a proletariat. I hope I spelled it right. Proletariat. Okay, I get it. I made a mistake. Okay. The proletariat is the social class of people who do not own significant property or capital and therefore must sell their labor in exchange for wages in order to live. So, 1984 makes a specific dig at Marxist theory, as you can see. And we've got inner party, outer party, but then everyone else is making it all work. Like that's all set up as a big pyramid in this infographic. Kind of makes sense. So, a lot of what this text is doing is it structures this whole society. It builds this whole society. That's why when I have students asking if it's like what type of stories should they write, I generally don't encourage them to say do a dystopian world or like a futuristic world, because if you do a futuristic world like this, you have to construct the entire world. You have to construct all of the characters, and then you have to construct the whole plot and how everything plays out, which is a lot of work, especially if you're only writing a 1,000 word creative writing. If your story is only about that long, it's possible to write about something that's like this, but it does add extra challenges to your efforts, put it that way. So I would recommend keep it simple when you are doing things like this, because it's like you can do a reference, like say the word prose, like that can be a reference that you have, but I wouldn't go nuts on creating these worlds. Focus on your few characters in your text and the relationships with one another, and the very close effects that's going on. Like it's got to be quite a clear cut thing that's happening. All right, let's keep watching.
Easy to manipulate simpletons who live in poverty, never knowing any better. Think of it like the ruling classes of Westeros. They have their own issues and culture, while the masses are simply the mundane peasants nobody really cares about. The inner and outer party is divided between four main sections: the Ministry of Peace, who wages war against Eurasia or East Asia, depending on who it is at the time; the Ministry of Love, which shuts down opposition and quells dissent; the Ministry of Truth, the propaganda arm of the party. Propaganda is, to put it lightly. This purpose of the party is to rewrite, invent, or destroy any conflicting bit of news and history that goes against the party. News stories tell of war heroes who, in actuality, don't exist. That sort of.
Okay. I just want to pause there because our hero in the story, this is his job. He works for the Ministry of Truth because he is propagandizing. He is creating new things and new ideas and then pushing ideas away and essentially lying to the government of his world. Which is interesting because if you look at what Orwell's actual job was, he was a journalist, a very begrudging journalist who had a big problem with how things were done. But that's kind of like our character, isn't it? So if you know much about the story, he's doing it. He throws things in the memory holes, thinking everything's getting wiped. But then, is it really? It's like there's the fundamental, what's going on? Because look, I think I'm going through all of this because fundamentally you should not begin writing an essay or thinking about writing an essay on a topic, even something, especially something like this, until you cross the main ideas and why everything fits together. Because it's one thing to know what the techniques are, to do if you saw a 60-second short on YouTube about what 1984 was about, and you're all right, I understand it. That is not going to give you a depth of understanding, which I'd be quite careful with, because you need to develop that depth. That's the key. All right, back here. Okay, let's keep watching.
Sort of thing. The Ministry of Plenty deals with economics and rations. It decides who gets what and what resources must be cut back. Every ministry is housed in pyramids that tower over the London skyline, 300 meters in the air, or roughly 1,000 feet tall. In Oceania, the only one thing that matters is Ainsak. Since the proles are too uneducated to matter and are easy to manipulate by either nationalistic pandering or to create a fake crisis, the party only really has to worry about its own stability to survive. So it doesn't really monitor or care about the majority of the population. The party only has to worry about its own stability to survive. Like a human body, it remains healthy by purging out the harmful educated element and those not entirely loyal to the ideology. Decades ago.
So, did that ever happen in real life? Maybe. Let's do this one. Okay. Did Russia ever? Actually, let's go. Did the USSR ever commit purges? Let's find out. Did it ever commit purges? All right. Look, I didn't say it. The internet said it. Oh, AI said it. It's not my fault. So, USSR carried out multiple waves of political purges, most notoriously under Joseph Stalin in the 1930s. Of course, we did. Okay, so basically expelling people from the Communist Party, which, but also a lot of people happen to die. Interesting. Okay. How many people died during the purges of the USSR? I think it was it 30 million? Can't remember. 20, 30, somewhere around there, right? Let's find out. Wow. So historians do not agree on a single number, but the best supported estimates suggest that Stalin-era purges and related political repression in the USSR caused several million deaths. Several million is a really unclear number. That can be 3 or 7. With roughly 700,000 to 1 million people shot in 1937-38 alone. Wow. So in a year, they killed almost 1 million people. Okay. All right, so we know about definite 681 to 800,000 executions in 1 year. Okay, wider Stalin repressions. This is what I'm thinking about. So 37 to 38, terror, yes, okay. So 1921, so between 1921 and 1953, around 1.5 to 1.7 million deaths in the gulags. Very conservative numbers. For a total of about 3.3 million documented victims. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, so basically directly about, so 1.5 to 3 million. And then, however, the conditions cause 10 to 20 million excess deaths through these higher figures that are much debated. It's Wikipedia debating it. So can we trust it? Can we trust it? So AI is quoting Wikipedia. Because my thought process lies to it's the 15 to, like, say, 25 million is probably where mine sits. But that's just have a think. Hitler was 6 to 9 million people we got for him. The room for error for Stalin is bigger. Anyway. We're just doing literature books now. We are not doing real life. Forget I said anything about real life and history. We're just doing books. Okay. Let's keep watching. This is good.
There were mass purges in the 50s and 60s inside the party. Ingsoc removed every threat of the old world to solidify itself among fanatic new supporters by cutting off
that was a point I wanted to make. Did you notice how those people were disappearing? Okay. Is there evidence? Hey, let's look at this. Let's make it true, right? Is there evidence? Is there irrefutable evidence of people and their histories disappearing? Hold on, let me get. Already got it. Disappearing under Stalin. So is there irrefutable evidence of people and their histories disappearing under Stalin? Because from my memory knowledge, I would say yes. And according to AI, yes as well. So there's a very strong multi-layered Yamamoto. What are you whinging about? Sorry, my camera's decided to have a whinge. See, I've got the cooling on, so it shouldn't be overheating. Oh, man. Silly machine. Right, let me put phone link on and hopefully that works. Yeah, I'm considering getting a whole new camera because it doesn't want to work. Oh, that's infuriating. All right, let's swap devices over here. All right, so I'm over here now. Yeah. All right, so I'll look at you guys up top side. Okay, so yes, there is a very strong multi-layered evidence that Stalin's regime both physically eliminated people and then tried to erase their existence from a historical record through irrefutable, though irrefutable in a philosophical sense, it's always tricky in history. Because that's from what I know of, like, I've seen pictures where it's like, here's a person and then there's that one not, so essentially, yeah, he's erasing people from photographs. That's what I've seen. Here is concrete visual evidence that the regime deliberately altered photographs to remove individuals who had fallen from favor. So Trotsky was a fairly famous figure, and he was taken out of photographs. They literally cut him out. So that is what I remember from my historical learnings. Okay. But we're talking about literature and not real history. Of course. Of course. Okay.
The population of both the party and masses from history, Ainsak is able to have a monopoly on facts. For example, the party says it invented the airplane. This is simply fact now, and everyone believes it. The Ministry of Truth rewrites or destroys any evidence of this not being the case. Those in the party who openly question this simply disappear or are sent to the Ministry of Love for re-education, continue in mass until, for the most part, it's a fact amongst the population that the party did invent the airplane. This is a process. How Orwell describes this is that simply through the progression of decades, Ainsak was able to normalize attributes that haven't existed in the West for centuries. Class divide, uneducation, mass atrocities, censorship. These are allowed to be commonplace because anyone who didn't agree with it is either too unimportant or dead to care. Then solidify this base with youthful and nationalistic young adults, and you've got a healthy future for your ideology. Ainsak's ideology runs so deep, children are more likely to openly report their own parents for thought crimes. Ainsak recreated culture, crafted new terms to allow only it to exist. A thought crime is anything that goes against the policy of the party. If you commit a thought crime, you can be vaporized by the thought police. Simply disappear. And when I mean disappear, I mean it is now a fact that you are never a person, an unperson. This isn't like kids giving Jimmy the silent treatment. This is everyone simply forgetting there ever was a Jimmy. And for
Okay. So fundamentally, someone gets disappeared, but yeah, it's like I've just given you an example of real people who've been disappeared, and now this text has made fake people in a story disappear. I wonder where Orwell was getting his knowledge from and his ideas. It's almost like he was learning about the world around him, and that was influencing what he was writing. Let's see if this thing's working yet. Give me a second. I'll test. Right, testing 1, 2. That one. Oh my god. Right, yes. Because my phone webcam is much better than my computer webcam, so I try to get that one working when I can, but alas, sometimes the computer one's the only one that works. Okay, all right, let's just run with the computer one. All right, let's keep talking about Jimmy.
forgetting that they forgot. The mention of your existence somehow by your family, co-workers, is now a thought crime in itself. Documents are changed or destroyed so that there is no evidence you ever did exist. Not that you did, Jimmy. This is how Ainsak is able to quell dissent. This term comes from the official language of the party, Newspeak. It's technically just short in English, but it's entirely designed to control the use of words that may be threatening to the party. Simplistic terms like duckspeak, crimethink, black-white. By limiting language to small bits, it makes debate controllable or refutable. Ainsak simply has a monopoly on political discourse because it made the words up. In 1984, this goes deeper than a weird language. Brainwashing is a cultural manifestation that goes down to the personal level. Reality and history itself can be changed with the bureaucratic stroke of a pen, and nobody thinks that stroke ever happened. This is doublethink, a Newspeak term to hold two conflicting beliefs and hold both as equal. Neither are canceled out both are believed. This is best emulated by the ongoing war in the book. The party tells the public that Oceania has always been at war with Eurasia, even if just a few years ago, the enemy was East Asia. East Asian bombs rained on the city, but everyone believes it was Eurasia because Big Brother and the party said so. Eurasia was always the enemy. East Asia was always the ally. This can change on a whim. History and information would be rewritten by the party to reflect any new change. It's not a debate to the people. It was just always this way. It would be like changing colors. The sky is blue, but the party says the sky is now red. So you believe it's red. Not say or pretend. You with all your heart know for certain that the sky has always been red. Never even considered the change happened. This is another newspeak term called black-white. There are a lot of terms. Why does this happen? Is everyone stupid? Well, if you go by demographics, yeah. It's not this simple though. This world is all these people have ever known. Think of North Korea. Actually, just apply all of this to North Korea. Kim Jong-il must have gotten inspired somehow. You can say whatever you want when you raise generations to worship you. So, what is Insak even? Is it fascist, socialist, totalitarian, Green Party? Does it have specific policies? What's its views on states' rights? Insak in itself is a conundrum, a product of doublethink. Officially, Insak is socialist. It teaches that the days before the revolution were horrendous, as the average citizen literally bowed to the capitalists, even going so far to say capitalists could choose any woman to sleep with and nobody could do anything. Then Insak came and forever made the world better. But at the same time, Insak hates socialists, despises socialist policies, and this is openly admitted by everyone. Yet nobody sees anything wrong with it, because that's the power of doublethink. Insak ideology, if you can call it that, isn't different at all than Eurasian Bolshevikism or East Asian obliteration of the self. They're basically the same society. Technological and social differences aren't that far apart between the three. This is something that may be recognized by all of them or simply ignored. We don't know. The relationship that continues between all of them is perpetual war. War is what runs this world. It's what allows all three nations to survive. It's a distraction. It can rile up the uneducated masses. It's a constant overshadowing force that Big Brother uses. Insak is the protector against the Eurasian hordes, or East Asian, whichever. What are they fighting over? Resources? Well, they have all the resources they need, since they control so much territory. Power? No one can really overtake the other. This is already established. Well, then what? Nothing. They're fighting over nothing. The equatorial front and polar front, as mentioned earlier, was never anybody's territory. It's simply a giant fighting arena, where the economic waste from overloaded military buildup from all of the countries is shipped to, almost like venting out steam. Borders constantly shift, countless soldiers die from territory which nobody wants, and the native people are enslaved and transferred between the three countries to work for the war machine, which continues the cycle again. All the nations have
Sorry, I just realized my microphone was muted. Huh. Give me a second. Yep, okay. Oh, that was infuriating. I was making a point. Okay, so what I was saying was Orwell talking about the past? Yeah, it's actually the future of Oceania. Anyway, basically the future world that he's built, Strip One, or is he talking about his time at the particular time, which was post World War II, or was he talking about colonial past, like how communities functioned in the world prior to that? So that's something to consider as we're thinking about it. Because why was he doing it? Okay, all right, let's wrap this video up.
have nukes. They could easily destroy each other, invade Britain or Europe, start wars in Russia and China, actually attacking the homelands. But that disrupts everything. It destroys the balance of power. And these heads of state like their power. So they constantly fight over the jungle and desert to keep what they have, to keep nationalistic fervor up. 1984 is a twisted world. Whether it's realistic or not, doesn't really matter. The consistent theme is information is important, and the control of that information is most important. That's the biggest thing to take away from Orwell's world. Everything Ainsak did was to make sure the population was loyal and too stupid to realize its manipulation, going so far to make those who did manipulate believe they weren't even manipulating in the first place. Does this tie into our world? I'm not even touching that subject. Like and subscribe.
So, does it? Yeah. So essentially, that's yeah. Good point. Wait, what did he say? Let me go back a bit.
Going so far to make those who did manipulate believe they weren't even manipulating in the first place.
So those who were manipulating felt that they weren't manipulating in the first place. Consider Orwell's Winston's job. So the character who's doing all of this, his job is fundamentally he's the propagandist. Very interesting. So what I've done now is I've given you a bit of an overview of it, because I think it's important to consider what's going on in the text. And then let's have a thought of how we would actually write this stuff, because ultimately you want to be able to write an essay on 1984 that would actually help you do something. Let's go, we'll make a new thing. And so this was a bit of analysis I did before. Was that a quote, or let me just double check where I got that from? Yes. Okay. Let's analyze this quote. Okay. So if I were to analyze, so let's have a think about it first. So first and foremost, underneath this lies the half-conscious belief that language is a natural growth and not an instrument which we shape for our own purposes. So this is mentioning that people aren't entirely conscious about how they're influencing the world around them. But people are trying to influence themselves as they go. So that's pretty useful. Okay, how about, okay. We need the broader, provide a broader context for what is occurring in the text. And it was 1984. Provide a broader context for what is occurring in Orwell 1984. The following quote. Occurring has 2 R's, I believe. Okay. Okay. So, give the show some quotes that are relevant around that period in the book. I don't want it to tell us the analysis. Like, I kind of just wanted to give us the quotes, so I don't have to open the book and look. Okay. I thought so. Yes, that was what I was trying to bring it to. Oh, this is great. So I was going through my notes and I didn't have it quoted down right. Okay. We're now talking about not just 1984. This is an essay that Orwell wrote, which was Politics in the English Language, which is kind of pointing out what it was about, you know? So essentially, in 1984, it's not that language is just there. Language is designed to change ideas and behavior. Like, that is the key. So language can control how you think. It can shape how you think. And that is the point. So this is pretty good. So yeah. I hear you. So Orwell criticizes they treat language quite openly as an instrument to be engineered for power, which is what newspeak and the control of records all about. Yes, I mean this is a interesting languaging. I wonder what the opiate magazine's about. Because it reminds me of Karl Marx and the opium of the people. I gotta look this one. I'm gonna check the source. The opiates. Wow. They make books. Language to be really meaningless. This is a. Yeah, it looks like a All right, so it's a blog. All right, so I wouldn't take this as a very good source. I mean, like not a trustable source. Yeah, it is a quarterly literary journal dedicated to publishing narcotically good works. Like that seems, yeah. So I'd say okay, who we've published. This would be interesting. I don't know who they are. All right, someone's poetry. So they don't. Yeah, it seems like they're riding the wave of Orwell. So I dare say we wouldn't necessarily use that source as an open one. But I mean, the point is that it's a good source, regardless of whether. I mean, sorry, it's a good point, regardless of where the source is coming from. So sometimes you do have to do that as well, where you're analyzing and you're saying, I think this about the source, because the thing is, if you're not doing this process, you're not improving your ability to, look at an idea and go, what's it actually saying? Because that is where your goals are going to come from. And if you don't start this process, if you don't get better at this process, then yeah, it's unfortunate. Okay, let's see. I do like what it's how it's talking about politics though. So basically, yeah, he was talking about a decay of language, like how it just diminishes. So my thought is for our time, we've got the 144 characters, like the Twitter age, where we don't have many words and our attention spans are so short that we've just got to, say, okay, I understand it now. I've looked at a few words. I saw a 60-second short. That's good enough. I understand this. I'm an expert. That is the truth of our understanding in modernity, which is also a little tragic. Okay. This is good. Okay. I'm glad I've got my notes as a mess, because this was a good thing to bring up there. My bad. This is me specifically quoting politics and and not reading my notes properly. Okay. I want to have okay. Let's actually quote one from the text. Okay. So this was one of I think it's like the first line of the text. Okay. So it was a bright, cold day in April. Okay, I gotta ask something. Actually, let's lose our other text. Okay. Is the mate here? because I live in the southern hemisphere, so I don't actually know if the weather in England is good or bad in April. Let's find out. So, is the weather good or bad in April in England? Okay, it's usually mild but very changeable. All right. It's a not sure weather. Okay. Typical conditions, high 12 to 15 degrees Celsius. To me, that sounds like winter because that's cold. And then 4 to 6 at night. Jeez, and that's, oh man, okay. So we can see this is an in-between time for Orwell, because the point being, we're in okay, in they're heading into summer. So northern hemisphere, they're heading into summer. But spring can be a bit like, oh, yeah, is it cold? Is it warm? We don't know what's going to happen. And the clock was striking 13. How can a clock strike 13 unless we're talking about military applications of time? Because 24-hour time was specifically to help militaries be more effective, because it's going, okay, well, it's 2400 now. So it's 2300, which is exactly 1 hour before 2400, which is when it goes back to zero. So I don't know if that reference made sense. But the point being, there's 24 hours in a day. Thus, for the clocks to be striking 13, this would think of a clock on a timepiece, and it's striking 13. You'd need 24 circles, which seems redundant. And it's almost like they're in a war economy specifically because of that, I think. Let's find out what Perplexity thinks. Okay. So, why does Orwell have the clocks? Actually, let's say strike 13 in his text. Let's see what AI thinks. I mean, that's what I think. Let's see if it's any close. Okay. Because I remember that. So it's basically, it's a little thing, because the thing is, you see that, and when you think of like time, you would generally go, it's meant to strike 1, not 13. There's a 3 after a 1. And that's the key detail for it, actually. That's the point I was not really hammering there, but good point. Okay. So essentially, it makes it a very, yeah, there we go. So it's hinting at a militarized, regimented society, which is the challenge, is they are changing, history and the writing of history with the way that it does that. And that's kind of the key detail. Yeah, not here yet. Anyone? No. All right, we'll hang in there. All right. So, yeah, okay, we get it. So it's basically about the authoritarian control, the 24-hour clock, yada yada. So it's all the stuff I was saying. Here we go. So in English idioms, a 13th stroke of the clock is a metaphor for a statement so wrong it throws all previous statements into doubt. I wonder if that's true. Let's look it up. Do we trust any of these Cliff's Notes? Wikimedia Foundation? The Indian Express. I'm gonna do Cliff's Notes. Yeah. Actually, no, Wikimedia, because what I can do is I can check what it's referencing. Okay. All right. I want this one. Okay. What is a free country? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here. And let's go. Okay. Find a PDF of this article. That's the new way of academic rigor. We don't search things ourselves. We get our AIs to do it for us. I'm hoping I can get in without logging into my university. Yes. Oh, I think we're in. I hope that I'm not. I haven't found like a naughty copy, and I hope this is like a proper copy. It's not working, so it must be the negative copy. Let's refresh. Let's have a look. Yeah. There was an error. Ah, now it works. Oh, that's cute. He's riding on the back of a cow. No. He's riding on the back of a cow. The butt of a cow. Interesting. What imagery, eh? So 66 uncommon cases. So I wonder when this came out. Yeah, I feel like this is quite old. The third edition, but I want to know when. There we go. First published 1935. Ah, this is contemporary to Orwell. Okay. What was the thing that we were learning about? The 13th strike. Okay. Okay. So 28 uncommon law, and a man can do as he likes if he does nobody any harm. And with that observation, the appellant's case takes on an entirely new aspect. If I may use an expression which I've used many times before this court, in this court, is like the 13th stroke of a crazy clock, which not only itself is discredited, but casts a shade of doubt over all previous assertions. So, okay, so that's the reference. I guess that was a good good quotation that I used. Okay, so it is a real idiom. I mean, if that text came out in 1935, that is a good idiom. I'm sorry, good to use. Having said that, did you see the process that I use to figure out whether I can trust what's coming out of the AI? Because ultimately, if I don't check details like that, I can just go and yeah, it's good enough. Because I don't know. Let's see. It's got a this one. It just why Hacker News? Like this does not. It just looks like a forum. So that is something I'd say. Okay, I'm suspicious. I mean, look, Palace Athena wrote on it, and she's been around for a while. Do you guys know Palace Athena? Let's check her out. She was pretty cool. I mean, look, she's I feel like she's an interesting character. So if you haven't caught on yet, she was an ancient Greek god. She's the lady who Athens is named after. So she may have been pretty good about wisdom and warfare. Wisdom and warfare. Those are two good things to be good at. Now, note. I went to a Wikipedia page. I did not quote the Wikipedia directly. I looked particularly at the footnotes and I said, hey, where is this Wikipedia's evidence from? The reason why I like Perplexity is because it'll use sources when it comes up with a search. So like I'm going, all right, well, is it any good? And I check the source and I go, okay, well, here we go. So doing interesting literature. So I don't know how trustworthy that source is, but it might be, it might be like a teaching thing. Reddit, yeah, you wouldn't trust Reddit, but Reddit's always interesting. And then the Times of India is like a news story. So yeah, there's some good stuff in there. Let's see for ATAR notes. Oh, I want to get a better ATAR, so let's check it out. I don't know, it's not loading. Therein lies the problem. It makes it and it doesn't load. Yeah. They moved. They're no longer in the spot. In 2021, wow, people still used to write on articles. Okay, Georgios hybrid text. What? I read whole essay. People being nice. I got to read this now. Okay, someone else said that this is very well articulated. I'm going to judge it now. Okay. George Orwell's Hybrid Text 1984 invites us to consider the power of storytelling in shaping the identity while acting as a cautionary tale regarding the ability of hegemonic narratives to obliterate individual experience of liberty and hope. What the hell is he talking about? Okay. Couple of things. Hybrid text, why? I mean, yes, it is, but yeah, if you're going to bring something like that up, tell me why. Just say dystopian. Yeah, it's like it's like dystopian hybrid. Anyway, that's beside the point. Beside the point. Now, while acting as a cautionary tale regarding the ability of hegemonic narratives to obliterate individual experience of liberty and hope. How and why? How and why? Oh, let's go on standing mode. So, because I've got a standing desk, so I might as well stand. We're up. We're up. We're up. Yeah. Okay, I think we're up. I reckon we're up. All right, my good friends. Let's have a look. So, inconsistent narratives manifest as the party's construction of a uniform pass. So, I know what this person's doing here. They're using the language of the high school certificate in Sydney, because they're saying inconsistent. They're using the wording inconsistent, which, yeah, fair. But let's see how they put it together. So look, I'm not loving the thesis. It's not a bad thesis, but it's not amazing. Inconsistent narratives manifest as the party's construction of a uniform past, strictly orthodox present, and eternally oppressive future. So I like that it's using synonyms for its explanation of what it's talking about. Collides with the protagonist's obsession with legitimate history and pursuit of revenge. Okay, that's well argued. Okay, so I hear what they're saying here, which is good. So the text thus reflects and hyperbolizes hyperbolizes the contextual concerns of all society. Okay. So yeah, I like how they mention that there's a contextual concern, because I hate it when people go too specific, especially in an introduction. Like, you can, but you've got to be a bit weathered in the way that you use it. So far this is not a bad piece. I mean, obviously there's things I can pick out on it, but not awful. Okay, as a Berkeley of realism and speculative fiction. Fancy. Okay. I'll tell you why this is a good line. Okay. A Berkelage of realism. So let's look at what a Berkelage is. Yes? Tell me about a Berkelage. What's a Berkelage? Do tell. Okay, so a Berkelage means creating or building something by using whatever materials, ideas, or resources are already at hand rather than following a fixed plan. Okay. So it's not a fixed plan. And that is the criticism that Orwell got from his contemporary writers. And speculative fiction, I'll show you why. This is the fun one. Let's look at what speculative fiction, where that word comes from. Okay. How is speculative fiction related to science fiction? I bet science fiction is a lie. Anyway, it's all in the prompt. So speculative fiction. I remember I used to have a university lecturer who used to go, no, it's specfic. It's specfic. They're very adamant about calling it specfic. So it's the umbrella category, and science fiction is one specific branch within it. So speculative fiction covers any sort of asks, what if? We're speculating about worlds, technologies, histories, or laws that differ from our own one. So science fiction does this specifically through science and technology. So, but it's technically not the correct way to do it if we talk about just science fiction. So, yeah, speculative fiction is the technical correct term. If you're gonna describe a text like George Orwell, like his 1984, definitely we call it speculative fiction. He's not. In this case, he was being scientific about it. So, I would do spec fic. Yeah, anyway. So speculative fiction includes works that alter reality in a significant way, such as changing technology, history, or basic laws of nature. So counterfactual imagined scenarios, alternate histories, which is exactly what this text is. It is a dystopia because it's not a utopia. A utopia is a perfect place. A dystopia is means bad, like or negatively working, negatively functioning. Okay. So asking the question of what if, and then making that, the extent of it, because the reason why I find Brave New World and all 1984 good ones to kind of look at together is because specifically Brave New World is showing you a utopia. Like it is actually trying to represent a utopia. Because we imagine the future and we go, hey, we've got all this technology, we could make a utopia. We could cure, it's like getting old. We could not have to work anymore. It could be perfect. We're jobless. Can you imagine how good it will be if we're jobless? Said every lamplighter in the 1900s. That reference was to lamplighters. Before we had street lighting, we had people who had these little gasoline lights that they would have on the end of a stick, and they would light up the streets every night. They may have gotten different jobs after that. I don't know. Or maybe they all just lost their jobs. Who knows? I don't know how the world works. It just works. Okay. And now, so over here, our good friend Perplexity does stipulate what science fiction is. Let's have a look-see. So science fiction is focused on the impacts of actual imagined science technology, such as space travel, time travel, AI. Yeah. Assumes that the laws of nature still hold, even if stretched. I would just move away from the idea of science fiction and just go straight to speculative fiction, because they're both speculating. Therefore, logically, why would you not just do speculative fiction? Why do you need to fluff with science? I'm angry. You're right. I threw the pen, and we know the pen is mightier than the sword. Therefore, if the pen has been thrown, we know it's a significant day. God, I'm a nerd. Okay. Anyway, let's have a read. So, most contemporary definitions treat science fiction as a subgenre of speculative fiction. Yeah, I disagree. All science fiction is speculative. I rest my case. I rest my case. Even AI agrees with me. But speculative fiction also includes fancy horror, dystopian, and utopian fiction, alternative history, and related forms, which is great. Okay. So non-realistic premises, fair, but I would still say, yeah, who's this Mickey something? All right, so people have written about it, which is great. Okay, that's fun. I really love how it gives you sources. Okay, oh man, I've gone over an hour, so okay, how about I'll do an hour and a half today because I do have, oh crap, what's the time? No, I don't have a choice. I have to do an hour and a half because I've got okay, we'll go a little bit longer because I've got to teach in a little bit. Then I kind of want to prepare a few little notes beforehand because I've got some stuff to do. Okay. So let's have okay, we'll look at these sources and then maybe we'll call it a day. Okay, so I want to see who this bloke is. Oh dear. My apologies, Michaela. So I saw Micah and I didn't see the end in my little thing, so now I know it's a girl. Man, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. How could I mess up a name like that? Oh, that's a cool picture. Okay. So author of this article, it's a good picture, but also say no to drugs because it's really good colors. Okay. So as my portfolio starts to expand, it sounds like she's she's writing a book. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, this is great. Okay, cool. So she's basically just recognizing what her genre is. So she's wrestling with it. What a fun person. Okay, well, I suspect I reckon whatever book she writes would probably be good. I want to have a look. Oh, she's Aussie. Tasmanian Gothic. Yeah, I know, but can you guys just give me a? Oh, she's got awards, as we can see why. Rookie era. She moved to the Hunter Valley. It's not nice up there. It's way better in Sydney. It's noisier. We like the noise. Okay. I just want to find a book. There we go. All right. Divided elements. So that's her text. So if you want to find her works, divided elements. That seems interesting. All right. She seems quite an interesting person. Okay. Having said that, I dare say. Okay. So she's trying to figure it out. I missed the A. Okay. So specfic. What is speculative fiction? What is this website? Let's see if this one's a trustable source, right? It's a university. All right, Mars, tell me if it's any good. Abracadabra it starts with. Okay. So what is speculative fiction? So author, senior, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Okay, so basically the senior associate dean, so like a leader of a part of the university. He's like the boss of the university, like the guy who runs Hogwarts sort of dude. Or like not the guy who runs Hogwarts, it's like the guy who runs a section of Hogwarts. Okay, said that speculative fiction takes place in a world that is either not on Earth or an Earth reimagined with a significant difference in technology, history, or natural law. Yeah, that sounds about right. But like, That's great. Oh yeah, so it's okay. Tolkien, to the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. So he would put even that in there. So there, Moses is on Earth, but with fantastic animals such as the traveling characters. Okay. All right. So I don't know. Is he saying it's in there? Anyway, speculative is great. All right. I don't want to go into it too much, but I got really stuck on a speculative fiction point, didn't I? Okay. How are we done for time? Can I? Yeah. Look, I probably should pull a pin soonish, but I want to do longer ones. Like yeah. Okay. How about we'll do one more quote for Mr. Orwell, and I'll pull that apart, and we'll call it a day after that. Yeah, where's my notes? Okay. Ooh, symbolic surveillance. Yeah, but the thing is, I want ones that are like later in the text because. Okay. Yes. These are to books, periodicals, masters. Yes. This is an interesting one because continuous alteration was applied not only to newspaper but to books, periodicals, pamphlets, posters, leaflets, films, soundtracks, cartoons, photographs. That seems quite relevant. Hold on. Let me quote this one in. Yeah. All right. So what do we make of that? Is that big enough? Let me make it bigger. Oh, that's too big. Now it's too big. Let me read it so you can just pick it up from there. So this process of continuous alteration was applied not only to newspaper, but to books, periodicals, pamphlets, posters, leaflets, films, soundtracks, cartoons, photographs. Ideological significance was I've cut the quote there a little bit. That's pretty relevant. So yeah, that's a way that you can trim your quotes. So as you can see in this text, it's saying it's deteriorating the notion of truth. You know, so it's saying, hey, truth can be kind of diminished away, you know, and it's like it's the rewriting of history. The whole point about this is how history is rewritten, how it happens, you know, which I mean, if you look at the language of history, here's the patriarchy. The patriarchy did it. Okay. Story. His story. Ergo, even the language, and if you take it from the ancient Greek, it was historia. So I is like the person, you know. So actually, wait, is it the feminine? Oh my god, I got to learn some Greek. Okay. It's I got a question. Okay. History. The masculine is the Greek word for history the masculine or feminine version? I'm either going to be very angry with Greeks or I'm going to be very happy with them. One of the two. Historia? I knew it! I knew it! Yes. Okay. So, oh no, but it's quoting Wikipedia. Bro, you can't just quote Wikipedia. Okay, so the ancient Greek noun for history, historia, is grammatically feminine, which was what I was just thinking. That is why I kind of jumped across here. The Greek term gender in ancient Greek, historia means inquiry, investigation, or the knowledge gained from such inquiry. So it's about inquiry, learning about something. So like, yeah, and now we've made it a story. Yes. Okay. Ah. So all right. Oh, this is pretty great. So, all right. So Greeks had they made it. So it was her story first. Ha ha. Okay. So as you can see, I'm happy about this piece of information. It's an arbitrary piece of information. I really shouldn't care, but It's funny. Also, like, yeah. Anyway, okay. Says process of continuous alteration was applied in only newspapers. Basically, it's talking about the destruction of history, like, or how information changes over time, and that is fundamentally what the text is talking about. The storytelling experience, which is very relevant because of his context, isn't it? Okay. Provide some contextual reasons why Orwell may have added the following scene in his 1984 text. Okay. Provide some contextual reasons why Orwell may have added the following scene in his 1984 text, and consider how this decision may have influenced. It's like, oh no, this decision may have been highlighted by his desired purpose and the audience who he wanted to speak to, who he wanted to target. Okay. So I'll just break down that prompt. So provide some contextual reasons why Orwell may have added the following scene in his 1984 text, and consider how this decision may have been highlighted by his desired purpose and the audience who he wanted to target. Okay, let's see if that logic's for ChatGPT, because that kind of makes sense to me. So I don't know if this was the best prompt, but it's fun to make anyway. Worth it for the comedy. Okay. Has this catalog of continuous alterations show that Oceania is in control of information in total, extending. Okay, so basically saying it changed. So the choice strongly supports the purpose of the warning in the mid-20th century democratic readership about how modern totalitarian regimes could erase objective truth by systematically rewriting all traces of the past, which, I mean, does happen. Oh, it's Schmoop said it. Thanks, Schmoop. Okay, historical and political context, fantastic. So he was writing just after Nazism and in the high Stalinist period. I like that it says that, because people often forget who won World War II. It wasn't the Americans. Like, technically, yes, but anyway. They got the credit. Okay. So by having Winston describe a system where every politically significant record from newspapers, films, photographs can be altered, he fictionalizes this real concerns, right? He's kind of like, he's making you think about it, like, if that history can be changed, what can my history be? Oh yeah, don't get me started. I won't even go into that one today, just like I made on the video. But so it's about controlling reality. So by pointing out so many different types of media in a long sentence, they now recognize, like, we can be manipulated anywhere. It's like, I'm just going to go on my social media feed now. Why am I so angry at this one group of people? Like, it's that sort of a thing. So, and it's all for the party's needs. Just look, it's a fictional party. Lucky it's not happening in the real world. So, central idea of the text, fantastic. Geez, they really quote SparkNotes a lot on the AIs love SparkNotes. Which, I mean, look, the problem with things like SparkNotes is it's technically correct, but if you don't sit and analyze your text and try and figure out what the hell it's talking about, you don't maximize your value in it. Like you're losing out on an important aspect of it. So I'd recommend it's worthy to kind of go into it. Okay. Oh, it's even got more Orwell essays. That's great. Why I write. Okay. Oh, so this major works after the Spanish War were written against totalitarianism and for democratic socialism. This is key because I want to show you the actual text. It's a really good essay. There we go. Yeah, okay, we get it. Essentially, so to give you a crash course on his time in the Spanish Civil War, so I think he was traveling this is all from memory, so if I miss details, please do correct me. He traveled to Spain because I think he was going there in a journalistic capacity. So he's going to write about stuff. Problem was he was, kind of already a bit of a socialist, but he liked democracy. And then because a war was kicking off, he's going, oh crap, I'm the pen dude, but now I'm going to pick up this rifle thing, and I'm not a good shot. Because Orwell did not believe that he was a good shot. But if you want to get the pen with the best, give you the greatest pen. This is my 303 pen. Okay. This pen writes better than any pen you can think of. It's got perfect targeting. Oh, it's getting old. I might have to get another one. Okay. Anyway, I don't take this on when I go overseas, but I do like to write with it because it's a reminder that you have to be very targeted with your words. Everyone's always thinking of, I need to add that little bit of extra detail to, just get that thing that's in the module that I need to write about, from the exam. But you want to say as much as possible with as few words as you can. And that is the key when you're writing. So, let me see. Can we do it? Okay. If I can smash through this quickly, I'll have why I write's going to be the final point. I'll just swing my gun pen around while it's basically in Australia they spent 303 casings and they turn them into pens because in Australia we got to make a joke of everything. That's dark. That's very dark. Okay, pretend like I didn't make that joke. Think about thongs. Just think of thongs. Think only of thongs. It's the only things you can think about now. Okay, I'm putting my pen down. Okay, so basically, when he was young, he was writing already, right? I'm not gonna read it. If you want to go through, I'm gonna give you kind of the highlights because I'll read sections, but I don't. Yeah, if you want to read the whole thing, please do find it. It's on the Orwell Foundation. So from an early age, he was basically he wanted to write even when he was small. Okay, between the ages of about 17 and 24, he's like, I can't do this. I need a real job, just like you would when you were 17 and 20, between 17 and 24. Okay, but then he's like, I like writing. So he's basically writes a lot. He likes to write. Okay. When he was a kid, that's when the war broke out. Okay. So this is his first poem. Have a look at the Kamoto. Hold on, I've stuffed up. Okay. 10, okay. So I wrote my first poem at the age of 4 or 5, my mother taking it down to dictation. That is so cute. Like his mom wrote it down for him. You just think of this famous author, but he was just a little, little kid being like, I'm going to write stuff down. And then his mom's like, I'm going to be a famous writer. And then his mom's like, I'll write it down for you, sweetie. Okay. So I can't remember anything about it except that it was about a tiger. And tiger had chair-like teeth. So the teeth were like chairs. Okay. So he basically just stole, yeah. He stole William Blake's work. Okay. And then when he was 11 years old, World War One broke out. Okay. And he's already printed. So he was printed as a child. That's kind of nice, right? But that's like, that is what parental support does. Like it is so important. If you can see, like, your kids doing something and they're learning something, like, put them into, like, get them the assistance. Like, it might seem like it's a costly adventure, but it can help them so much. Because I often think, I'm like, wow, it's the things that are not noticed. Like, I've got lovely parents, but I'm still well aware of what they didn't pick up when I was younger. So I'm like, oh, it sucks. You didn't raise me right. But we can always complain about our parents, of course. Okay. So quite nice. So good, good, good. I'm kind of skipping ahead with it because I want to go through. Yes. There's 16. Yeah, so he liked words. And he's influenced by other authors from his past. So think about that. Today, you're influenced by this giant, this literary giant. When he was little, he was influenced by his literary giants. And that is like the beauty of creativity and making things. There's something about creation that I'm not going to go into that joke. Okay. Okay. See how he's got these little 3s and 4s? There we go. There we go. He's got it. Okay. Sorry, that's what I was looking for. He's looking at the motives of why he writes. Okay, so I think there are 4 great motives for writing, at any rate for writing prose. Prose is a fictional text. So they exist in different degrees in every writer. In any one writer, the proportions will vary from time to time according to the atmosphere in which they're living. So, first and foremost, egoism. So you want to seem smart. I mean, I feel his pain, even though, like, I know that I'm not very smart, I swear. But see what I mean? Like, it's sheer egoism. Egoism is one of them. And then aesthetic enthusiasm, just beautiful sentences. Words that fit together and flow. Oh, seeing it work together is such a nice experience. And historical impulse, a desire to see things as they are, find the facts, and store them up for the use of posterity. So it's like, that's that question. So when you're working in, say, at the BBC, you may not be able to tell the actual truth. You've got to tell the version that your paymaster wants you to. Ergo, it's like, how can I write without propagandizing all the things that I make? And then he leads in from historical impulse to political purpose. So using the word political in the widest possible sense, I love that. So desire to push the world in a certain direction, to alter other people's idea of the kind of society that they should strive after. Once again, no book is genuinely free from political bias, correct? So the opinion that art should have nothing to do with politics is itself a political attitude. So he's saying, like, hey, you're going to influence politics anyway with what you make. Like, that's why I really love it when Margaret Atwood has interviews, because she's always saying how she's not, like, she's apolitical. She's like, oh yeah, I'm just writing for the sake of writing. It's what I do. And then she writes A Handmaid's Tale. Like, there's people when you're like, can you see the forest for the trees? And that is in no way, shape, or form saying anything negative about Margaret Atwood. I think she is an absolute genius. And I would model my own, if I were to write it. She is a giant, not a giant person, but a literary giant who I look to and go, yep, I want to be like that person. So, yeah. Politics. Point. You can't escape it, whether if you want to or not. And that's it. And now he's talking about how it's like the impulses are at war against each other. It's like an internal war. And I'm like, that just makes me think of the war of art. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay. He's looking at the nature. And he says, I am a person to whom the first three motives would outweigh the fourth. In a peaceful age, I might have written ornate or merely descriptive books and might have remained almost unaware of my political loyalty. So that is interesting because he, like I said, he did fight in a war. As there's, he's been forced to becoming a pamphleteer. So basically giving pamphlets out to be like, hey, follow our cause, follow our cause. First, he spent 5 years in an unsuitable profession. So he was the Indian Imperial Police in Burma. So basically a job that he felt like he sucked at. Then he got really poor and he felt like a real failure because he was trying to write and live. So this increased my natural hatred of authority and made my, for the first time, fully aware of the existence of the working classes. So that's why democratic socialist for Orwell. And then another job in Burma had given me some understanding of that nature of imperialism. But these experiences were not enough to give me an accurate political orientation. Then came Hitler, the Spanish Civil War, etc. So by the end of 35, he still had failed to reach a firm decision. This is, okay, we're at the bit. Happy Vicar. So he hadn't kind of like hit it yet. He hadn't hit like that point. There is a thing to be said about creativity. Tears in the author, tears in the audience. He's finding his tears. That is the key detail. Okay, but born, alas, in an evil time, I missed that pleasant haven, for the hair has grown on my upper lip, and the clergy are all clean-shaven. And then still the times were good. We were so easy to please. We rocked our troubled thoughts to sleep on the bosoms of the trees. All ignorant, we dared to own the joys we now dissemble. The green fringe and the apple bough could make my enemies tremble. But girls' bellies and apricots roach in a shaded stream. Horses, ducks, and flattered dawn, all these are a dream. It is forbidden to dream against. We maim our joys, or hide them. Horses made of chromium steel. Interesting. So World War I, people thought they'd be fighting on horseback. Turns out the tanks won the war. Chromium steel, right? And little fat men to ride them. So that's the it's a capitalist point, the little fat man. And the worm who never turned, the eunuch without a harem, lol. Between the priest and the commissar, I walk the junior. So, and the commissar says, great. Is telling my fortune while the radio plays, but the priest has promised an Austin 7 for Dougie always pays. I dreamt I dwelt in marble halls and woke to find it true. I wasn't born for an age like this. Was Smith, was Jones, were you. We never decide where we're born. We don't get to choose that decision. Oh, this is golden. So then he talks about Spanish Civil War and other events, 36, 37. That's where he understood where he sat. Where's the bit where he got shot? Because I feel like him getting shot was a big thing. Conscious political bias, yes. Intellectual integrity. So he's concerned about intellectual integrity. What I have most wanted throughout the world is writing to art. My starting point is always feeling of partisanship, a sense of injustice. And that's the key. That is why he writes. He feels the sense of injustice. He's like, there shouldn't be injustice. And that's golden. So anyway, there's a problem, yada yada. Hamish Catalonia is a good book. Yeah, good old Animal Farm. Anyway, good prose is like a widow's pane, a window's pane. So window pane is like below the window. Can't say with certainty which my motive is the strongest, but I know which of them deserve to be followed. And looking back through my work, I see that it is invariably where I lacked a political purpose that I wrote lifeless books and was betrayed into purple passages, sentences without meaning, decorative adjectives, and humbug generality. Anyway, we doesn't have to be a good writer. Anyway, that was in the summer of 1946, right after the war, 2 years before he starts his best book that he was just known for. And anyway, so at the point, guys, I got to roll because I got work. Good catching up, and I will see you pretty soon. All right. G'day, goodbye, and good night. I'm off.